Welcome to This Week in Auburn Sports. I'm sports editor Will Gaines. This is assistant sports editor Justin Ferguson. This is going to be a new series we're going to be doing, reviewing and previewing everything Auburn Athletics. And we're going to start off with reviewing the Arkansas State game. So, Justin, what was your thoughts on the Arkansas State game last week?
Well, the old adage in college football is your biggest change comes from week 1 to week 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we saw that a lot with the Auburn team this past weekend in offense and defense. I thought in the offense you saw a more comfortable quarterback in Nick Marshall. The running game continued to impress behind that impressive offensive line. Saw some bigger plays from the wide receivers. But defensively, still giving up a lot of what defense coordinator Ellis Johnson called garbage yards. It's just giving up so many yards between the 20s. But once teams get in the red zone, they're finding it hard to score touchdowns against Auburn. Auburn has not given up a touchdown since the second quarter of the Washington State game. So that's something that gives them momentum heading into this weekend against Mississippi State.
One of the big storylines coming out of the Arkansas State game was Chris Frost's ejection for targeting. Kind of what was your opinion? Do you think it was a good call, bad call, and what's it going to be? What's the effects going to be on the team coming up against Mississippi State?
Well, I thought it was a good call. A lot of people are giving referees and analysts just a big deal of grief about this new targeting rule. And it was going to be a late hit anyway, but it looked like he kind of left his feet and went up. And if you hit the quarterback above the shoulders, especially in this day and age of college football, you're done. So that's the ejection. The big thing is it's going to really hurt Auburn's depth heading into Mississippi State. This is linebackers in the 4-2-5 already don't have a whole lot of depth, but now you're going to be relying on Jake Holland, who did have a pretty solid game against Arkansas State. But Jake Holland's going to get most of the snaps at middle linebacker, and for a team that's struggling in depth, the Chris Frost ejection is going to be tough out for the entire first half of the Mississippi State game.
Definitely will be. And we have a more in-depth look into Chris Frost's ejection coming out in this week's issue of the Auburn Plainsman. Let's talk just a little bit more about the Mississippi State game. Kind of what are some matchups do you think will happen, and kind of what's a prediction for the Mississippi State game this week for you?
The big thing I took away from Coach Malzahn's weekly press conference on Tuesday is him and a running back, Trey Mason. They talked about how they're not focusing on what happened last year. I wrote this in this week's issue that this is a team that wants to move forward. We're not thinking about 2012 or even the end of 2011. So they're not focused on the 10-game losing streak in the conference heading into this game. But they just want to take care of business. They saw what they did against Washington State and Arkansas State. Another home game, another night game in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I think that's going to be the biggest advantage. Mississippi State is it's hard to judge them. They've had a lot of injuries. They did not play well at all against Oklahoma State. And then basically a bunch of reserves came out and just really whipped Alcorn State last week. If I had to pick a prediction, I would say Auburn prevails by 1 touchdown in this one. I'm not good with picking certain scores, but I think Auburn pulls a narrow win over Mississippi State and starts to turn this whole program around.
I agree with you. I think one big story going in is, will Tyler Russell play?
Absolutely.
He did not play last week. He went out with a concussion against Oklahoma State. He gave Auburn some trouble last year, so if he plays, that'll definitely be a strength for Mississippi State. And if not, I think Auburn has an advantage there with having a true freshman quarterback playing for Mississippi State.
Absolutely. I watched Coach Dan Mullen's press conference on Monday. He expected Tyler Russell to be in practice, but you never know with concussions. Those are kind of scary situations. So Dak Prescott did very well against Alcorn State, but then again, it was Alcorn State. He provides a running threat more than what you could see out of their normal starting quarterback, but we'll have to see once Saturday when the starting lineups are posted.
Sounds good. Well, that's all we have for this week. Make sure you pick up a copy of the Auburn Plainsman on Thursday. We have a story on the Ramsier twins for the soccer team, and we also have a story going up on Ladarius Owens and his uncle, James Owens, who was the first African-American football player at Auburn University. So make sure you pick up a copy of that when it comes out.
Not only that, also every home game there is a special game day preview. It's a little this is 12 pages this week, 12-page tab to preview some matchups, going a lot more in depth with the preview than what we did in this video. But
Justin does a good job with that, so make sure you pick up a copy of that.
Appreciate it.
No problem.